Spanning the globe to hopefully bring you the finest in comics reading. This is the Temple of Tomes with your host, Indie Comics Jones. Hope you're doing great out there. Today is June 10th, 2020. Not so much a scorcher today for the first time all month. It's only at 88 degrees, but I guess there's a few more hours left in the day. It could always hit that 90 degree mark. We've been 90 degrees or hotter up until today in June, so it's a little bit of a nice reprieve from the constant heat. Today we're going to take a look at the Alterna comic Tinseltown. We have the 5 issues set here. I believe there's a new arc that's going to start soon. I'm not 100% sure on that, but you might see it on Kickstarter. And that's one of the things that this author, David Lucarelli is up to. He usually launches these on Kickstarter first. And if you're familiar with Alterna, Pete Sametti's label of comics, he's very, very, very artist friendly. He lets them do all kinds of things. They might have the book come out through Alterna, but he also lets them put it up on Kickstarter. They sell it by themselves at conventions, mail order. There's like at least four different possible revenue streams for the artists working on these, so that the totals that are sold through Diamond, and this is older now, Diamond doesn't really reflect how many were actually sold to the comic book stores. I do have some numbers on there. I'm going to run through those right away while I'm thinking about it. Issue number 1, and I know he was selling these at conventions and Kickstarter and whatnot, but for issue number 1, it was 2,000 copies were sold through Diamond, so that's pretty good for a independent on here. Issue 2, it dropped. It went to about 1.2, but again, he's very strong presence on Kickstarter. Issue 3, I have it at 1.1, so it dropped about 100 units. And issue 4, I couldn't find a number for it for the Comicron. Issue 5, it topped just barely under 1,000 copies. But again, he's selling them through Kickstarter, and at conventions he makes the rounds quite a bit. So I know he's selling a lot of issues that way as well. And look at that price. Ooh, baby. $1.50. So you get 5 comics for $7.50, unheard of. And take a look at, it's kind of neat what they did, a little sequential art there with the label. First she's tipping the cap, then she starts drawing her pistol, and then she fires it, and you get the little recoil on the 5th one. So pretty cool altogether. David, I've met him a couple times before. I've seen him speak at a panel or two. Really nice guy. He had another line of comics before that. It was called the Children's Vampire Hunting Brigade, and was based on a true story out of Scotland, and he just elaborated on it and built it up even more. And this too is sort of based on true story. His mother was a police officer in Pittsburgh, and apparently when Universal Studios first started way back in 1915, they were hiring female police officers as part of the LAPD and all that. And it kind of goes into that a little bit. So there's a little bit of historical presence within this comic as well. So it's not just a made-up thing totally. There are a lot of facts and things like that. He renames Universal City Utopia Studios in this. So there's a little bit of play on words there. The story itself in the first issue, it's mostly all just character building and creating the officer that we see here. She starts out, she's more of a prop at the studio than an actual officer until actual crimes start happening. If you're familiar with Universal City in California, it is an actual town. It has its own fire department, police department, and all. And it supports the studio, of course. But way back in 1915, Los Angeles wasn't as populated, and there were areas between each little city there that were very rural, and so they would have their own little burbs and such. But now it's pretty much continuously built up for miles out, like 60 miles on all sides. Big population there now. But as we go down here, you can see she was a cop in the early days of Hollywood, in a town where nothing was what it seemed. And Hollywood was a lot like that back then. A lot of people, a lot of the land of broken dreams, so to speak. But what's cool about this is that it is printed on newsprint, and the printing in it is fabulous. It's really nice. The artwork was by Henry, let's get his name on here, Ponciano, Henry Ponciano. He does a remarkable job. I think it's really good. It's his time period drawing is right on, I think. If you're familiar with Alterna, they do a lot of newsprint printing. So you can get pretty good deals on their comics. I've picked up a few just because it was $1.50, just to see it's worth the chance at that price. So you can kind of get an idea for it. It starts out, she is not a police officer. She gets hired on, and mostly they want her to be kind of a prop on the studio. So when people come to visit, they kind of like, whoa, you can arrest me anytime. So there's the first issue is pretty lighthearted. It ends with a cliffhanger. I'm not going to go into it and show you, but the other issues that go on, there's actually some gunplay, some kidnapping, things like that take place. So it's not like the most exciting. It's not going to be an Indiana Jones type of thing, but it is kind of an interesting read on a historical perspective. Another thing I want to tell you about David, he also did this kind of a funny story that he related to us. He's a real big Kiss fan, and he decided it'd be fun to create his own Kiss comic book. So he created it, wrote it, drew it, got it printed up, 10 copies only, and gave it out to friends. Well, he was like I said, he's a big fan. Gene Simmons was in town, so he went to go see him at one of these autograph signings. I think it was for one of his books that he has out, and he presented him with the comic, and Gene Simmons was like, "Where'd you get this? Who did this? What is this?" If you know Gene Simmons, he's a super intense businessman, and not just a musician, but really has good business sense. And he was up in David's face about it, like, "Are you making money off me?" All this and this. And he's trying to explain, "No, I only print 10 copies. I want you to have this. This is a gift to me. I just print up as gifts. I did not make a single cent on it. I spent my own money. I'm not making anything." And he did, I believe he did get a cease and desist letter from Gene Simmons holding company, because he got the copy and gave it to his lawyers, I guess. I don't know if he ever read it or not, but I just thought that was kind of an interesting story to add on to this. Because like all us little comic creators, we all have our own little stories and things that have happened in our lives. But it's kind of a letdown, though. One of your heroes, you finally meet them, and they turn out to be, maybe a kind of a jerk at the moment, and it might have been just in a bad mood, or whatever. But I know he's very protective of the Kiss trademark, and for the rest of us, it's rock and roll, baby. But don't have too much else to say. I would like in the future to do some more alternative comics, because they are so inexpensive, and I'm still looking for one that I'm really, really love. This one was very good. It was very well done. I'm not going to knock that at all. It's just not the excitement that I look for usually in a comic, but it was interesting, and it did keep me reading through it. I finished these issues off as soon as I get them, so that's a good point on these. I don't know if I have anything else to add, but just stay safe out there. Stay cool. These are hot times right now. Be kind to everybody, and I'll see you next time at the Temple of Tomes. This is Indie Comics Jones signing off. Take care.